Hello everyone and welcome to the Wildwood Devon workshop in Exeter. So today we're going to be playing with epoxy resin and trying to achieve some selling in our top coats. So as you can see, we're now mixing up the epoxy resin. We're going to be using three colours today. We're going to be using a black, a gold and a white on top of this MDF board, which we've sealed with acrylic spray paint. There's a bit of black there and a bit of gold, as you can see. So here we are now putting the clear resin, which we've just mixed up. This is going to be the base coat that the other three colours will be suspended in to create our design. So when we apply the clear coat onto the board, we need to ensure that we get a level spread. As you can see here, just moving it around with a wooden stick. At this stage you want to try and avoid getting the clear resin to go straight over the edge, because we want to keep it on the top of the board as long as possible. So you just gently manipulate this around, and obviously with epoxy resin, as we all know, this will absolutely self-level and totally flatten out like glass. So at this early stage you don't have to be too particular. You just want to try and get it spread out the best way you can and as level as possible before we apply a heat gun onto this to first of all help warm up the resin and to take some of those unwanted air bubbles out, which obviously get into the resin when we mix it up. So as you can see, we've got a fairly good spread. And now we're just using a hot air gun just to warm up the resin and to take out the first lot of micro bubbles and help this clear coat just to lay down a little bit flatter. It's important not to overheat the resin, but you do need to just kind of gently work your way around. You'll see the bubbles popping as you carry out this procedure. So that's kind of our first little lay down, and now we're going to start to apply some colours. It doesn't matter how you apply the colours or what particular shape or design or pattern, because this is basically the more random the better. So first of all, we've got the onyx black going on, and you can either pour it on through the cup or you can use the stick to drizzle it on. Various different techniques. Here I'm just, as you can see, I'm just pressing the stick into the clear coat and basically doing a little spreading action. This is another random way of getting the colour onto the board rather than just pouring it out in one hit. So we started off, that's a bit of the black down, and here's the gold. I'm just trying to marry up, or just trying to match up really, a bit of gold with the black, as you can see, just randomly mixing it together. And at this stage you don't have to cover the whole board. You can see still through some of that clear to the bottom of the board. As your colours go on and as you manipulate this with a hot air gun in a minute, you'll see how everything starts to cover quite nicely. When working with epoxy and doing these kind of projects, it's quite good to try and think about layers. If you can work these in layers, then when you put the white on the top, and it's the white that will sell probably the most at the moment, because the top layer tends to sell the most. However, you will get selling if you use a lot of heat, especially with a butane torch, as well as the hot air gun. Both of those techniques will create cells. So I'll just sit here quietly for a moment and just let you watch how all these colours are being applied, and how the hot air gun we'll start to maneuver this around the board a little bit. And now it starts to change as you apply heat and as you start to blow the layers together, mixing them. This particular gun, the heating element is not massively hot, so therefore you can get it quite close to the project without causing it to overheat. Some hot air guns can have more than one setting, and I would recommend putting this towards the cooler of the two settings if possible. That way you won't overheat the resin, but you'll still have enough air from the nozzle to blow the pigment around. Now you can see that all three colours are starting to form a complete covering. And I'm just going around the edges here just to break the surface tension now of the resin that's on the board. This will allow it to gently start to enrobe over the edge, and that will give us a really nice live edge look at the end of this project. So the first layer was down and blown around, and I thought, well, I needed a few more bits of interest, so on with some more gold. As I said before, there's no right or wrong. It's just how the individual person sees it at the time. So I drop more gold, and now I'm just putting the air gun over again just to pop the bubbles of the resin I've just added. And I decide then just to soften all those lines by just blowing them with the gun again and blending everything. And actually now is the time where you can start to see in the white especially the cells that are forming. And here we are now back round. I'm just wiping my finger along the edge now of the board, and this is helping all the drips that are now coming over the edge to drop over nice and evenly and level. If you just break the surface tension, the resin then will start to drop down and create its own live edge. And apologies for the big long streak of white light in the board. Unfortunately, that's the strip light in my studio, and as you can see, that now disappears as I pick this up and give you a better angle. So what I'm going to do now, I can see the selling has started, so we'll try and give you a bit of a closer look at the cells. And these are formed just by using the heat gun, and they're the cells. Look, you got that webbing and selling of all the colours. So I decided then that I was going to go out and get my propane torch from the other side of the workshop to see if we could just encourage a few more. It's always a good idea when you're using the torches. As you can see, initially straight away two little catches there of the resin, so you've got to be so careful when you're using the naked flame on epoxy resin. You just got to get it moving so quickly, as you can see that I'm doing there. Never leave it in one spot for too long, otherwise you're going to burn the resin and possibly catch something on light. So after using the propane torch on, we can now see that the cells have increased. I'll try and give you a bit of a close-up. Here you go. We've got some real nice lattice and webbing in pretty much all the colours now, not just the white. And you can see now how everything was dripping lovely over the edge. And here's a couple of pictures of how it kind of finished up. I hope you enjoyed this. Please tune in to our next video, and thank you once again for watching Wildwood Devon.